Four of us here are members of the Provisional Town Vending Committee. We've been members now since it got notified in 2022. As members of the Provisional Town Vending Committee, we know that today's action has not been sanctioned by the Provisional Town Vending Committee. This kind of arbitrary, it is not a relocation, it is an eviction. And we know that because we have been part of ensuring that this law is rolled out. We were part of the in situ survey, we were part of the claims and objections, we were part of the even issuing of COV or certificate of vending, and we noticed that some certificates were given to people who should not be getting, so we protested, but they still wanted to go ahead, which was why we had to boycott a meeting of the 9th and the 23rd. But after that, now unilaterally, the chairperson along with municipal ordered this action today, which amounts to nothing but an illegal eviction. In fact, it is so sad because most of the women, were shocked. So many of them have collapsed because this is not the way. This is not the way of checking licenses and ensuring compliance. How many times will they come and do this kind of almost like violent, threats and action against hawkers, many of them women? It is only the hawkers themselves who can monitor each other and know for a fact who is genuine and not genuine, who has licenses and no licenses. Will they be able to come and do this every single day for the next few months and weeks? No. In fact, we have agreed also that after respacing, after really checking properly, we will even move to that road level parking. So this was totally unsanctioned action. And in fact, just now we're in front of Sadar police station. Why? Because we have had to come and file FIRs against the municipal office, and particularly those people who were on duty today, who didn't even have a nameplate, who didn't, they could have been anybody who are coming and just taking away the goods of the hawkers. They took away goods of even those hawkers who have a certificate of vending. It just shows that they didn't know what they were doing. They just came to show power, just to trouble the poorest and the weakest who are there to eke out a living, and that too the poorest and weakest who have demanded and brought a law to the state to ensure that there's a regulation. And imagine taking away these goods worth 35,000, 50,000, which they have taken on loan, and without giving a seizure list, without giving proper receipts. Now who will take the responsibility if all these goods goes missing? They will go missing because they've just taken it like that without proper labeling, without proper, as I said, giving a seizure list, and this is illegal. So we have filed FIRs for all those people whose goods have been taken away. Many we still have to come and file, and many of these FIRs are of people who have certificate of vending. Now the government, and particularly the chairperson of the TVC, has to answer, the Provisional Town Vending Committee, because we are members of the Provisional Town Vending Committee. We did not authorize this action today. In fact, the discussions are still ongoing of planning together that space at that road level, because we saw what they did, unilateral, how they made those horrible cages in the basement of the Muda parking lot. So we will not allow this kind of action because we are law-abiding citizens. The hawkers are trying to ensure that every clause of this law is fulfilled in a fair and transparent manner, and it is the government, particularly the municipal authorities, that are breaking the law.
How many FIRs were filed?
Just now we filed 4, but we will be filing some more because some people, have, out of shock, they have even collapsed and are unable to even get up and come and sign.
And also the case is coming up in the court, so will you make a representation mentioning all this?
Yes, we have been made party to some, that we had filed a case in 2016 demanding that the Meghalaya government implement the Street Hawkers Protection of Livelihoods and Regulation of Vendors Act 2014. We got a favorable judgment in 2020, which is why we have a law in the state today. Everybody should know that it is the hawkers that brought this law to the state. Without this law, you cannot even regulate hawking. And we have cooperated. But after that judgment and order in 2022, somebody again went to the court to talk about congestion and traffic jams and no parking and all that. And the easiest thing to do is to again bring in the hawkers in here. The hawkers are not the reason for congestion. It is because we do have a failed public transport system. There are no buses. Everybody wants to take out a new car. It is the private cars that are congesting the roads. Every single road in this town has become a one-way. Why? Because the big cars and the cars of the big shots and the wealthy have to be parked on one side. They are the ones who are also violating even encroachments onto the road, not just from their big cars, but even their illegal buildings, which actually go against the building bylaws. But does the law go after these people? No. Why? Because it is easy to go after the poorest and the marginalized. But we have to not ever forget that it is the poor and the marginalized who are wanting to uphold the law in this town of Shillong. And the people of Shillong should actually be lending support to this movement, because we don't want a city which is just run on the basis of impunity, that I am rich, I have the power, I have the money, I'll do whatever. No. And the hawkers will lead the way in showing the citizens of Shillong how to ensure that a law is implemented in letter and spirit.
Well, the Shillong Municipal Board says that everything is in order, so they will carry on with their activities.
Everything is not in order. We are members of the Provisional Town Vending Committee. We have been sitting in those meetings. We saw with our own eyes that there were some certificate of vending which are being given to people who have shops. And it is our duty to object, because they have to also calculate the holding capacity. Now, if they're giving licenses to people who should not be getting because they are not hawkers, they don't fulfill any of those criteria, and this holding capacity gets filled out, what will happen? Are you actually resolving the so-called, they like to say that this town is overrun by hawkers. It is not overrun by hawkers, it is overrun by cars. And actually, because we are objecting to that and they didn't listen, we had to, I told you, boycott the last two meetings. So things are not in order. And that's why we are demanding that an emergency PTVC meeting be held. And if not, we have to resort to our constitutional rights of protest. FIR. Timenta mangi kibadai kita member jong kanika Provisional Town Vending Committee. Nadok meneng ye don hangtei haba kanika municipal ka le eviction ki belong be an. Namag ni